Hello world, from whichever time zone you're catching me from, my name is MD90. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notification to all so that you do not miss the uploads that come up. And the easiest way for you to navigate the channel is to head to the playlist. You'll find videos curated for you based on your interest. So if you're interested in the Kutika podcast, you'll find a playlist for that. For news and trends, there's a playlist for that. Exclusive with MD90, a bunch of playlists that are created based on your interest. So the easiest way to navigate the channel is head straight to the playlist and you'll find what you're here for. Consider becoming a member of the channel. Right next to the subscribe button is the join button. You click on the join button so that you can become a member of the channel. You support the team on the production and a number of things that we're doing here, and we appreciate that.
Well, this just ended the Easter weekend. Has been a hive of activities. And one side news that hit the globe was the passing of the Pope of the Catholic Church. And obviously, messages from across the world have been sent to Vatican on the passing of the Pope. And the Zambian Republican president is one of them that has sent his message. So he says, we are deeply saddened to learn the death of His Holiness Pope Francis. Pope Francis was a man of great humility and compassion who led the Catholic Church by example. We join Catholics and fellow Christians across the world in mourning today in a Jubilee year on the most important day of the year for the Catholic faith. Pope Francis has been promoted to glory. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia. So that's a message coming from the Zambian Republican president. And then he shared some images when he had met the Pope. This should have been like the first month after being inaugurated in 2021 when he visited Vatican and met up with the Pope. I think it was right after he had visited the United States of America. Then he went to Italy. And those are some of the images from that particular meeting. Obviously, Emmanuel Mwamba jabs at it and he says Hichilema's gift to the Pope was Fyakui Londolora, meaning it had to be explained, the gift that you see on the left there. And then people are just like, no, you're being petty, telling Emmanuel Mwamba in that regard. But on the other hand, the Zambian diaspora community was hit just like the local community with regard to the recently passed cybersecurity bill. The entire weekend, the conversation in the nation has been around that. So one of them is, this is a Zambian based in the USA, that's Akashambatwa. And he put up this in response to the president. So he says, and if you post a police call out on cyber crimes, you will be committing a crime punishable up to 5 years in prison. And then it says, Hakainde Hichilema, my president, did you read what you signed into law? This law infringes on freedom of expression and constitutional right. A constitutional right. So this is if you've been following online debates and with regard to national conversations, he has made it clear he's a UPND supporter and he lives in Hakainde Hichilema, and he says this is a Mama Masheke Akashambatwa. He simply asks. So this viewpoint was not unique to him. Another person that was involved was that, you see, that's George Mtonga. This is another person based in the diaspora. George Mtonga is a Zambian also, is a UPND supporter. And then the entire weekend he spent it trying to get the president's attention. He would tag President Hakainde Hichilema, and then he would repost the statements that President Hakainde Hichilema had made, where he was opposing what was believed to be butane and also the cyber security crimes bill when Edith Kalungu wanted to pass it. So he was simply putting a point across to say, if we opposed it in opposition, on what grounds are we standing to pass it now? So he tried to reach out to different sections of the UPND. There were debates. And at the end of the day, he was compelled to resign. So the entire weekend, pretty much the past 4 days holiday that the nation has been experiencing with regard to Easter, he spent it trying to get the attention of the UPND and also the president to say, this bill that we have passed is in direct opposition to what we had opposed when we were in opposition. On what grounds are we standing to pass it now? And he also put up an argument to say it's going to have a ripple effect, a negative effect, if we do leave government in 2026. And then obviously he didn't get any response with regard to that. And then he was compelled, this is just 3 hours ago, he was compelled to resign. So he says for immediate release, and he put up that statement. April 21st, 2025, George Mtonga announces his resignation from the United Party for National Development, UPND. Today, I announce my decision to resign from the United Party for National Development, UPND, a party I have faithfully supported for over a decade. For more than 10 years, I stood with UPND through most difficult struggles. And the proudest moment was believed deeply in the party's vision. I believed in the party's vision, a vision of democracy, transparency, and the protection of the fundamental freedoms. I committed myself to advancing our shared ideas, defending the right of every Zambian to speak freely, and fighting for a government that would save rather than silence its people. I joined UPND in 2015 during the time when it was represented, I mean, when it represented hope for millions. We fought together for a Zambia that could embrace true democracy and reject oppression. Through victories and defeat, I remained loyal and believing that we were moving towards a freer and fair nation. However, the recent passage of the Cybersecurity and um, Crimes Act of 2025 has forced me to make a difficult but a necessary decision. This law represents the fundamental betrayal of the ideals that first drew me to the UPND. It curtails free expression and empowers government of overreach and threatens the very abilities that we promised to defend. He goes further to say, I have spent time reflecting, debating internally, and hoping for a different course. But my conscience will not allow me to remain part of the party that has chosen to forsake the principle of freedom and openness, and dissent. I believe in the patriotic act of democracy cannot survive when fear replaces free thought. It is with a heavy heart but a clear conscience that I step away. Leaving UPND is not an act of bitterness, it is an act of fidelity. The values of the value that matters most to me: freedom, human dignity, and political accountability. My commitment to Zambia remains strong as ever. I will continue to fight for the right of every citizen to speak up for democracy and hold these in power to account regardless of party. This is not the end of my journey. It is the reinforcement of a greater mission to always stand on the side of liability or liberty. And that's how he captions that, and he signs off. And to which Reverend Water responded, because if you remember, Reverend Water had said something to say the way the UPND is handling the media might be the cost of their election in 2026. So he goes further. This is Reverend Water Mawambazi responding to George Mtonga's resignation. So Rev Water says, quite unfortunate for the UPND. One of their most vicious supporters has resigned. Speaks volumes about their perceived deeds with the cybersecurity and crimes bill being the topping of the gun at this point. For me, this whole scenario falls squarely on the party's terrible public relations. They have lamentably failed once again to manage information. This, with the firing of Gary Nkombo with no clear explanation, it leaves too much room for speculation, an event that visibly shook George Mtonga. Because if you remember, when Gary Nkombo was fired, he had also aired his views to say, at least explain to the nation on what grounds Gary Nkombo was fired. Because leaving it open like that, people are speculating, is because Was he the most formidable opponent to President Hakainde Hichilema if he intended to go to the convention, the UPND convention? Rev. Water goes further to say, well, well, can only watch and advise. And my advice at this point is more days go by, where's the entire scenario gets of the ruling party there. So, and then someone in the comment section responded to say, I mean, there are people who stand on principles and they're patriotic to a nation, obviously praising George Mtonga's action there. And then one that I found interesting, obviously, it's amongst the comments there, says David JC, a response to what I says, he is a non-factor na imwe, and doesn't even have a voter's card. Where did he vote? What position does he hold for him to resign? And then Reverend Water responds to say, the most common reaction to reality, every party that lost always stands is rubbishing resignation. What can we say? Anyway, let's just watch. So he says, this is what happened also with the Patriotic Front when people started resigning and moving just right before the elections. All the resignations were being disregarded, saying, no, those are non-entities and they're non-factors. And obviously, just 48 minutes later after George had resigned, BJ Kuba also put up that post saying that George Mtonga wants to make a name lying he has resigned from the United Party for National Development, UPND, when he has never been a member. He never even had a membership card. He was never with us. So he put up there. Everyone is trying to disregard him at this point. And then George Mtonga himself put up a statement to say, colleagues, our relationship may have started as a result of political affiliation, but it has developed into a friendship beyond politics. I assure you 100%, I cherish that, and no amount of politics can change that. I am still here as a friend, not just as your comrade. And then he takes a picture of that. I think that is Larry Mwetwa and other individual here, I do not know. So he says, in as much as he has left the UPND, their friendship will still stand. And then he responds to JB Kuba, BJ Kuba, who had tagged him there. He says, well, that was fast. He laughs it off. The ink has barely dried on my letter. Does he know he's breaking the cyber law by publishing false information designed to harm me? If I decide to present my membership card, then what? So he says, okay, so if your argument is to say, no, because I'm in the USA, and I'm not a member of the UPND. According to the new act, what this person has done is a criminal offense. And then he goes further to even put up his card there. So George Mtonga, he was having coffee there. He puts up his UPND card there. And then he quotes the new law. And then he says, section 16, publication of false information, and he highlights the penalties of what that person, 5 years maximum imprisonment. And then that's a card that he shared to say, you see, his membership card there, which says UPND membership card, and then his name there with a serial number there. So he says, now that I've published that I was a member of the UPND, what argument are you holding? So with that, he says, okay, fine. Then I'm going to sue you on the same law that has been passed. So that we test it. So he tags Dickson Jerry. This was the press aide for Rupiah Banda, is now a lawyer. And then he says, we have a case here we want to use for case study and lecture. Into retainer. So he says, okay, I'm hiring a lawyer and I'm going to test out this new law on this UPND cadre who has said, no, George, I was not a UPND cadre myself or UPND member. So he says, okay, fine, I'm going to sue him on the new law and let's see how it works out. And then he goes further to say, this is colleagues, this one was just too difficult for me to stomach or to reconcile. The U-turn was too much for me to swallow, but I will always cherish the journey that I took, and the memories we created, and all the best. And I hope what inspired UPND is never lost. He goes further to say, I am not joining any political party. I am not going to push anyone else's agenda. At this point, my focus will be 100% my business and growing my advisory firm. So he says he's not joining any party at this point, and neither is he pushing anyone's agenda. And then he says, this person that is going to sue the JB Kuba, he says, I'm suing this person, for example, so that we test out the law. Since he says I wasn't a UPND member, I've proven that I'm a UPND member, I've just resigned. So then let's sue him on the new law and see how that plays out. So we tune and we watch. Obviously, Nkana Member of Parliament, he says, I have nothing but love and admiration for principled people. And George Mtonga has just won my heart, obviously. There are people crediting him to say the action that is taken is credible. Biflo has also commented on the resignation of George Mtonga. He says, I am for everyone who sides with the people. For this reason, I salute you, sir. No matter how unpopular your decision may be to others, one day your integrity will vindicate you. A good reputation is worth more than party loyalty. It will be a bit lonely for some time, but believe me, you will enjoy the peace of being on an independent thinker. Once again, I salute you, George Mtonga. That's Biflo responding there with regard to that resignation. And then Mao Sampa is in court, obviously fighting for the Patriotic Front with this is, they say, he says, the background, this is Mao Sampa. Background, Morgan Ngona sued the Speaker of the Constitution. Yeah, that UP, I mean, that PF drama, obviously, it's still ongoing. And Pope Francis, 1936, 2025, just passed on. And then there is another bill that the journalists have rejected. This is the news digger. So journalists reject bill as UPND moves to suppress press freedom through such a media regulation. That's in the news diggers. Secret bill explodes. Media bodies reject and denounce planned state regulation of journalism. That's in the mass newspaper. This is in the magnet. UPND now biting their own bullet. People will never forgive you for mess you have made at KCM. One's Sonda. I don't know which Musonda that is. And then in the Daily Nation, media bodies reject Mazo, expose government's plan to regulate journalism, demand the immediate withdrawal of the secret journalism bill. So there's another bill coming up. Yo, anyway, that's the news, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good day.